For decades, Bob Dylan has stood as a towering figure in music. He is a poet, a rebel, and the voice of a generation. His influence spans across genres and generations, inspiring countless artists to pick up a guitar or pen a verse. Yet despite his legendary status, not every rock icon was eager to step into the studio with him. One is Mick Jagger, the electrifying frontman of the Rolling Stones, who has just revealed why the rockers refused to collaborate with Dylan. What could stop two great artists from working together? Was it envy or fear? Join us as we unveil Dylan's rise and rock's hesitation. Bob Dylan was no ordinary musician. By the mid-1960s, he had transformed from a folk-singing wanderer into a cultural lightning rod, a man whose words cut through the haze of a turbulent era. Born Robert Allen Zimmerman on May 24, 1941, in Duluth, Minnesota, Dylan's early life was unremarkable. Raised in a modest Jewish family, he was a quiet kid who found solace in the radio's crackling broadcasts of blues and country. But when he picked up a guitar and began scribbling lyrics, something extraordinary happened. By the time he arrived in New York's Greenwich Village in 1961, he was a sponge soaking up the folk scene's raw energy and channeling it into songs that would soon echo around the world. Tracks like Blowing in the Wind and The Times They Are A-Changin' didn't just capture the spirit of the civil rights movement, they defined it. Dylan wasn't just a songwriter, he was a prophet. At his peak, every artist wanted to work with him, except the rockers. But why? Did they know something that no one else knew? Watch on to find out. The answer, as Jagger would later reveal, was a cocktail of admiration, intimidation, and practical realities, a mix that made Dylan both a hero and a hurdle. The rock world of the 60s and 70s was a testosterone-fueled arena of egos, where collaboration often meant compromise. And Dylan didn't compromise. His vision was singular, his process chaotic, and his personality elusive. To work with Dylan, Jagger hinted, was to step into a whirlwind where control was an illusion. It wasn't just about personality, though. Dylan's creative process was a labyrinth. Stories from his recording sessions paint a picture of a man who thrived on spontaneity. And as his star rose, so did the complexity of his persona. Mick Jagger, by contrast, was a different breed of rock star. Born on July 26, 1943, in Dartford, England, he was a restless soul with a sharp mind and a sharper stage presence. As the frontman of the Rolling Stones, Jagger embodied the swagger and danger of rock and roll. Formed in 1962 with Keith Richards, Brian Jones, and a rotating cast of players, the Stones were the gritty antidote to the Beatles' polished charm. Songs like I Can't Get No Satisfaction and Painted Black dripped with rebellion, and Jagger's prowling, lip-curling performances made him a magnetic force. By the late 60s, the Stones were global icons, their music the soundtrack to a generation pushing boundaries. Yet despite their shared era and mutual respect for Dylan's craft, Jagger and his peers kept their distance when it came to collaboration. The question lingered, why? Dylan's influence was undeniable. The Beatles credited him with pushing their songwriting deeper. Jimi Hendrix turned All Along the Watchtower into a volcanic masterpiece. Even the Byrds owed their folk rock sound to his blueprint. So why did rockers like Jagger shy away from joining him in the studio? Reports of Dylan's unstable approach to music scared the rockers, who were obsessed with organization. Dylan's style obviously didn't fit into what they wanted. Incidents like the 1965 one, where he shocked his band by going electric without giving them a heads up at the Newport Folk Festival, plugging in his guitar and unleashing a sound that fused folk storytelling with rock's raw power, became legendary. The Dylan kind of music was cerebral, unpredictable, and untamed, something the rockers weren't willing to walk into. To many, he was a genius. To others, he was an enigma wrapped in a riddle, a man whose brilliance came with an edge that could alienate as much as it inspired. Take Highway 61 Revisited, recorded in 1965. Musicians like Al Kooper and Mike Bloomfield recall Dylan showing up with half-finished lyrics, barking vague directions, and expecting the band to keep up as he improvised. The result was genius, tracks like a Rolling Stone, which redefined what a rock song could be, but the method was maddening. He'd say, "Play it like it's raining, and you just had to figure it out," Cooper once laughed. For a band like the Rolling Stones, whose chemistry relied on the tight interplay between Jagger's vocals and Richards' riffs, Dylan's approach could feel like a threat to their identity. Then there was the matter of stature. By the late 60s, Dylan was more than a musician, he was a myth. After surviving a near-fatal motorcycle accident in 1966, he retreated to Woodstock, emerging with the mysterious basement tapes alongside the band. His every move was scrutinized. His every word dissected. To collaborate with him was to risk being overshadowed, a prospect that didn't sit well with rockers like Jagger, who had fought tooth and nail to carve out their legends. "We all loved Bob," Jagger admitted, "but you didn't want to be the guy standing in his shadow." He had this way of making everything about him, even when he didn't mean to. Yet beneath the wariness, there was respect. Jagger never denied Dylan's impact on the Stones. Tracks like Street Fighting Man owed a debt to Dylan's knack for blending protest with poetry. And Richards once called Dylan the real deal. Still, admiration didn't translate to partnership. Was the decision to steer clear personal, or was it about survival? The Stones had their kingdom, and Dylan had his. Crossing those borders, as Jagger would later reveal, was a gamble few were willing to take. Creative clashes were inevitable. By the 1970s, Bob Dylan's mystique had only grown thicker. After retreating from the public eye following his 1966 motorcycle crash, he re-emerged with a new sound, grittier, more introspective, and often cloaked in ambiguity. Albums like John Wesley Harding and Nashville Skyline showcased a softer side, trading electric fury for country-tinged ballads. Yet even as he reinvented himself, Dylan remained a figure apart, a chameleon who defied expectations. For Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones, now riding high on masterpieces like Sticky Fingers and Exile on Main St., Dylan's unpredictability was a double-edged sword. An allure that tempted, but a risk they couldn't ignore. Jagger's insights into why rockers steered clear of Dylan didn't come from idle speculation, they were forged in the heat of real encounters. Want to know about his encounters? Stay tuned. One such moment unfolded in 1972 when the Stones were in New York, fresh off a triumphant U.S. tour. Dylan, then living a quieter life upstate, made a rare appearance in the city. Word spread that he dropped by a late-night jam session at a downtown club, guitar in hand, ready to play. Jagger was there, along with a handful of other rock luminaries. What could have been a historic collaboration turned into a telling standoff. "He started playing something and we all just watched," Jagger later recounted. "Nobody knew where he was going with it. Half the room thought it was brilliant, the other half was lost. I didn't jump in. Didn't feel right." That night wasn't about ego, Jagger insisted, it was about rhythm. The Stones thrived on a groove, a tight-knit synergy that drove their live shows into frenzied highs. Dylan, though, operated on a different wavelength. His tempo shifted mid-song, his lyrics veered into cryptic tangents, and his band, when he had one, was expected to follow blindly. Another reason for the rockers' unwillingness to work with Dylan was Dylan's reputation as a studio wildcard. In 1975, during the recording of Blood on the Tracks, Dylan's process baffled even seasoned pros. He'd rewrite lyrics on the spot, scrap takes that others deemed perfect, and switch musicians without warning. Guitarist Kevin Odegaard, who played on the sessions, recalled Dylan tossing out a finished track because it didn't feel right in the air. The album became a classic, but the chaos left collaborators shell-shocked. Jagger, who'd overseen the Stones' meticulous production on albums like Goat's Head Soup, saw this as a red flag. "We'd spend days getting a sound just so," he noted. "Bob could tear it all down in a minute. That's not how we worked." Yet there were moments when the gap narrowed. In 1985, the music world buzzed with Live Aid, the global concert spearheaded by Bob Geldof. Jagger and Dylan both signed on, raising hopes of a joint performance. Backstage in Philadelphia, they crossed paths, Jagger strutting in a neon jacket, Dylan in a leather vest, looking like he'd wandered in from another decade. Fans dreamed of a duet, but it never materialized. Dylan took the stage with Ron Wood and Keith Richards backing him in a sloppy rendition of Blowin' in the Wind that left critics wincing. Jagger watched from the wings, opting for his solo set with Tina Turner instead. The Live Aid fiasco underscored another sticking point, Dylan's live unpredictability. He'd change keys without warning, skip verses, or stretch songs into marathon jams. For a frontman like Jagger, who commanded audiences with choreographed precision, it was a gamble not worth taking. "You've got to know your partner's next move," he explained. Beyond the stage, there was a subtler divide, image. The Stones cultivated a bad boy aura, all leather and decadence, while Dylan's persona leaned cerebral, almost aesthetic. A collaboration risked muddying those brands. In 1986, When Dylan approached several rockers for what became the Traveling Wilburys, Jagger declined an informal nudge to join. George Harrison, Tom Petty, and Roy Orbison signed on, but Jagger stayed out. "It wasn't my scene," he said. "Bob's got his crew, I've got mine." Mixing it up didn't fit. The Wilburys thrived, but Jagger saw no place for his strut in Dylan's quirky supergroup. The 90s and 2000s only widened the gulf. Dylan embraced his never-ending tour, a grueling, low-key odyssey that kept him on the road, while the Stones scaled up to mega productions, think Bridges to Babylon's giant screens and pyrotechnics. Their paths diverged, but Jagger kept tabs. Today, Mick Jagger and Bob Dylan stand as living monuments to rock's golden age, each thriving in their orbit, their paths still distinct yet intertwined by history. At 81, Jagger remains a dynamo, defying the years with a vigor that keeps the Rolling Stones a global force. Dylan, now 83, is no less active, his voice a weathered growl, his pen still sharp, carving out a late-career renaissance that few could have predicted. Did the unwillingness to work together cost either of them their careers? Watch on to find out. The question of collaboration may have faded into the rearview, but their current trajectories reveal why Jagger's wariness, and that of other rockers, persisted even as both men cemented their legacies in the twilight of their lives. Jagger's 2025 is a whirlwind of motion. The Rolling Stones, fresh off their 2024 Hackney Diamonds tour, are back on the road, packing arenas with a setlist that blends classics like Gimme Shelter with new cuts that pulse with raw energy. Hackney Diamonds, their first album of original material since 2005, hit the charts hard, peaking at #1 in the UK and earning Grammy buzz for its lead single Angry. Critics marvel at Jagger's stamina, his hips still swivel, his voice cuts through the mix, and his command of the stage is undiminished. "I'm not slowing down," he told a crowd in Los Angeles last month, flashing that trademark grin. Offstage, he's dabbling in production, mentoring younger acts, and even teasing a solo EP, proving he's as restless as ever. The Stones' machine hums with precision, a testament to Jagger's lifelong knack for steering the band through chaos. Keith Richards, now 81, remains his foil, their chemistry as potent as it was in the 60s. Ronnie Wood, the new guy at 77, rounds out the trio. Their live shows are a masterclass in rock endurance. Yet Jagger's current success underscores why he never gambled on a Dylan partnership. Dylan, meanwhile, is thriving in a way that defies convention. His never-ending tour, a marathon that began in 1988, rolls on, with 2025 dates already booked across Europe and North America. Last year's Rough and Rowdy Ways, released in 2020, continues to resonate. Its dark, sprawling tracks like Murder Most Foul earned acclaim as some of his best work in decades. Off the road, Dylan's creative fire still burns. He's painting again, his abstract works fetching high prices at galleries, and his 2022 book The Philosophy of Modern Song remains a bestseller, dissecting tunes from Elvis to The Clash with his idiosyncratic lens. Their health battles add another layer to their present. Jagger's 2019 heart valve surgery could have sidelined him, but he bounced back with a vengeance, hitting the gym and the stage within months. Dylan too has weathered storms. Rumors of frailty dogged him in the 2010s, but his relentless touring proves he's tougher than he looks. In 2024, he shrugged off a bout of pneumonia, rescheduling shows with a curt note, "I'll be there." Both men defy the odds, but their resilience takes different forms, Jagger's public triumph and Dylan's quiet defiance. The reluctance Jagger once voiced about working with Dylan feels prophetic. In 2025, the Stones' latest tour leans on spectacle, giant screens, guest stars like Lady Gaga on Sweet Sounds of Heaven, while Dylan's gigs are stark, almost monastic. Just him and a small band. No frills. A collaboration now would be a clash of empires, Jagger's showmanship versus Dylan's introspection. Yet, there's a late thaw in their dynamic. At a 2023 benefit concert in New York, they shared a backstage laugh, with Jagger praising Dylan's latest record and Dylan nodding at the Stones' staying power. No jam session followed, but the exchange hinted at mutual respect, hardened by time. Their legacies, though, ripple beyond their efforts. Jagger's influence echoes in acts like The Killers and Arctic Monkeys, who ape his strut and sneer, while Dylan's shadow looms over songwriters like Phoebe Bridgers and Father John Misty, who chase his poetic depth. The Stones' catalog streams in the billions, with Satisfaction still a cultural touchstone, while Dylan's Nobel Prize in Literature, 2016, and Oscar for Things Have Changed, 2001, cement his singular stature. Neither needs the other to shine, a truth Jagger grasped early. Collaboration might have diluted their brands, not enhanced them. Social media amplifies their reach today. Jagger's posts on tour updates and the band's activities keep fans hooked, while Dylan's rare tweets, often just song lyrics or tour dates, spark frenzied analysis. A January 2025 post from Dylan, "The past is a bucket of ashes," sent followers into a tizzy, while Jagger's "See You in Berlin" drew thousands of likes. Their refusal to work together hasn't cost either of them much. The rockers who shunned Dylan's orbit built their kingdoms. Now, as the curtains close on their time in the limelight, those kingdoms stand tall, separate but equal, their rulers still reigning supreme. What do you think about the rockers' decision? Did it help them grow, or stop them from reaching their peak? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, click on the next video on your screen. You won't want to miss it.